I just read the book, The Science of Scaling by Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Blake Erickson, and I was really enthused to make a overview of this book. I'm taking a second pass through it. And so on this video, I want to walk you through what I got out of it, what I'm learning, what I'm implementing to scale my business into an 8 and eventually 9-figure brand, and how ultimately, like, a lot of us as business owners are lying to ourselves. So I want to show you how I got really efficient and effective at retaining this information very quickly, how I use this hack, especially with the $20 bill as a bookmark, and how I'm taking a second pass at that book. And if you guys want me to do a secondary review after this one, put it down in the comments. Okay. So one of the first things that really stuck out to me in this book is that, again, most of us are lying to ourselves with our goals. And it kind of comes in a few different ways. Okay. One, you might be lying to yourself and setting goals, but they're linear and they are just kind of complacent goals, if you will. So you could say, like, oh yeah, I'm just trusting the process and I'm just going. And that's one way to do it. And that's more of a relaxed, lean back type of way. And that's okay. But the thing that we have to do is we have to be honest with ourselves about what we're looking to actually create and then what's required of this. Okay. There's a big difference between a bold vision and an impossible goal, as Dr. Benjamin Hardy talks about in this book. So you got to define what exactly you are optimizing for, because it was uh, Tesla, Elon Musk. He talks about the worst thing you could do as an engineer is optimize for something that should not exist. And so our goals are really our set points of what we are optimizing for. So if you're not clear on your goal and what he talks about, your impossible goal, like, there's no way to actually accomplish it, right? And so I really like this methodology of, he talks about, all right, what's your big audacious 10-year goal? Okay. Now condense that down into 3. And what was kind of cool is, like, there can be people that really focus on this and say, like, well, if you're not scaling, you're not going to this level, then you're not doing anything. But I like the approach that Ben Hardy took on this. It wasn't that he's like, okay, you have to do this and you're not cool if you don't do it like this, right? He just said simply, it is a thought exercise to say, okay, well, if you wanted to take that 10-year goal, whatever it is, and you had to condense it down into 3, how would you have to think about it? How would you have to operate? How would you have to behave? How would you have to lead? What type of people would you have to have in your company? That's the approach. And what was kind of cool, they shared several examples in here that I'll walk through here in a second. But, it's just a really cool thought exercise to start getting the wheels turning. Okay, you're not committed to it. You don't have to go and actually implement it, but it's certainly an interesting way to get you to start thinking in a little bit different of a way. So if your goal is, like, let's say $100 million to scale your company in the next 10 years, what if you condense that down in the next 3 years, even the next year and a half? What would need to happen? And what's cool about this exercise is that it ultimately cuts out all the nonsense, all the bullshit that you're telling yourself that is valuable. Because the concept I've heard numerous times at this point is the woman in the red dress theory, and it adheres exactly what he's talking about. In the Matrix, they're walking around and stuff, and he's like, don't look at the woman in the red dress. And he's like, why don't I want to look at that? And he looks over to her, and he looks back, and he looks over to her, and he's got the woman in the red dress has a gun to his head, right? And that's a metaphor for distractions. And so the distractions get hotter and hotter the levels you go up. So when you're making $10,000 a month, then you'll get $10,000 a month distractions. When you're making 50K, you'll get 50K a month distractions. When you're making 100K a month, you'll get 100K a month distractions. When you're making 8 figures, you'll get 8-figure distractions. Like, the distractions look like opportunities. They're dressed like opportunities, but they're really distractions. And I think it was Warren Buffett that said the most successful people say no to pretty much everything, because they have to be lasered in. They have to be focused. They have to know exactly what their floor is. Benjamin Hardy talks about is your standard. What is your standard? What are you willing to accept, and what cannot go underneath that? Because if you are accepting things underneath your quote unquote floor, that's not really your floor. Your floor is whatever you accept. So if you accept only $100,000 opportunities, that is your floor. And if you say yes to any of them, then whatever that is your floor. So that ultimately shows your standard. So how you're operating, how you're behaving, the things that you're saying yes to, that is your floor. That is your standard. So you really have to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, what is an opportunity? What is distraction? And when you set a big goal for scaling, and my definition of scaling, I heard this years ago at a conference, is that it's growing without adding expenses. So growing is more about adding expenses. You're in this process of growing your company. You're investing a lot into like actual infrastructure and growing the whole organization. And then it's starting to like grow up. But then scaling is without investing all these things that are like taking you up. It's just like that, right? Where all of a sudden it's just like exponential. Okay. So it's really about getting clear on what is it that you're optimizing for. And I really had to take a hard look at myself. And that's why I want to take another hard pass at this book, is that like I have to get really clear on what is along my goals. So, if we have done a lot of work inside of founders, entrepreneurs, business owners, even 9-figure founders, and we've started doing a little bit more on the corporate side. We've started doing a little bit more on sales teams, even sports teams with our Vision Espresso app that helps people really craft their vision. And then it has a custom audio from their future self that's in their own voice. And then it reprograms their subconscious to like believe that that is their new identity. And it's so cool. We've had so many cool case studies, testimonials, people having their first 100K month, people making their next getting their next 100K clients, 5X in their business. Like, it's been really cool. But then it's like, okay, we charge anywhere from like 1 to 5K on those products. And then we have some front end products. And so, if we're charging more so 20, 30, 50K, as a lot of my mentors are recommending me now for the corporate and the sales teams and the sports teams packages, like if our goal is $100 million in the next 10 years, but then we condense that down into 3 years, what would we have to do to accomplish that goal? And so let's just say we are charging, just for example purposes, charging 100K per client. If we were to get 100 clients, let's do the math here real quick. I was thinking about this. $100,000 times 100, that would be 10 million. 100 million would be 1,000 clients. Okay, so we'd have to get 1,000 clients in the next 3 years. So let's do that. 1,000 divided by 3, that's 333 clients per year. That would be, so that'd be 111 clients a year divided by 12. So that's about 9 clients a month at 100K a pop, right? And so like, you can break down those numbers and that's great, but then it's also like what he talks about so much, and I believe in this so much, is like casting a vision of what is possible. That's one of my biggest ethos in our company, and what we really communicate is like what's possible. What's possible when you embrace emerging technology, you lead from the heart, you deeply understand people, and you relentlessly pursue what you believe in. Like that's one of my phrases that I continue to talk about so much. But it's like then you have that bold vision, you dream about what's possible rather than like looking back and be like, oh, if we did this, if we did this, if we did this, then we'd be able to goal. We'd ever hit that goal. But what he's talking about with this impossible goal, you just have to set the goal and then like, all right, we're going to figure this out. And there's only one possibility that we can make it happen, because I look at this and I'm like, okay, we got to sign 9 clients at $100,000 a month, 9 clients at $100,000 for the next 3 years to be a $100 million company. But then it's like, my mind even goes like, okay, well, how could we do this more effectively, more efficient? Like, instead of just 9 clients, what if we got equity in these companies? What if we partnered with them and scaled to the point where we're making $250,000 per client? And maybe it's an annual reoccurring subscription model. So it's just like, as I'm even explaining this, it's opening up my mind. It's helping me understand this stuff on a much deeper level. And also it's just like, set the goal and then go. Because like, think about it like this too. And I'm just talking from my experience. This is very helpful for me to get out. So, if the goal is $100 million in the next 3 years, and I'm focused on, so you guys all know, if you've been on this YouTube channel for any period of time, we have our vision quiz. You can go through that. Then you can book your future self blueprint call, where that's fully designed to help you release your subconscious blocks and refine and install a new identity that guides you in everything you do. So that's our flow right now. And then we have our back end offer with the company and corporate clients and the sales teams, right? But here's the thing is like, yes, the front end stuff has been working with the vision quiz. It helps people increase their clarity by up to 108% in less than 20 minutes. It's awesome. Then that produces calls. We get on calls, we help people through their stuff, and then we offer them our other services, right? And that's great, right? It's a good funnel. It works. It converts. We just are getting more traffic to it now. But then it's like, how many clients would we need to get in order to become a $100 million company in the next 3 years? Like, if our goal and our focus, and this is the way we're doing it, is getting 9 clients at $100,000 a pop each month for the next 3 years, then, doing a vision quiz and doing these blueprint calls, they're great, but are they distractions? Are they a woman in the red dress? Because if all our sole focus is just getting $100,000 clients of sales teams, and then we're getting referrals from them, and like, we don't necessarily have a whole lot of time and resources to allocate towards the vision quiz. And even like what Dr. Benjamin Hardy talked about is like, when his YouTube channel was popping off, he was like, I'm not going to do it. It's a distraction. Podcast, distraction. And he doubled down on obviously the things that work, his book, right? He doubled down on that to scale their coaching company. And that's what they teach inside of their whole offer. And that's what they are constantly sharing. Like, there's this woman in there as well talking about how she had this insurance software and she could make all these cold calls because she had this goal to hit this certain amount. And she kept on doing these sales calls, but then she realized, because she had this big audacious goal that she condensed down into 3 years as opposed to 10 years, then she's like, there's no way that I can hit this goal by just making sales calls, by just cold calling. And so what she ended up doing is she found a trust network that had authority, access, and trust to the market that she wanted. They already had thousands of clients. And if she just installed her software into that organization, then she would have like thousands of clients right away, as opposed to cold calling, getting one client at a time. So again, what this book has taught me is that like when you set big goals and you condense them into small timelines and you make them emotionalize, and you give yourself like really no out to actually not doing it, then it forces you to think non-linearly and think outside the box of like, what do we need to do? So like for us, again, just coming back to this whole example of 9 clients a month at $100,000 a pop, like cold calling or like just cold emailing or whatever, like that strategy probably is not going to work, because typically you close like 10 to 30% ish, somewhere around there, of people you get on a sales call. We would have to get on, let's just say, at like on great numbers, like 30 sales calls a month with these sales teams and corporate companies. Like there would just have to be some other way we'd have to do it. We couldn't just keep on ripping sales calls. We need to be a lot more efficient with our time. We need to set up partnerships, opportunities where we can install our stuff just immediately, where we have access, trust, and authority to all these different networks, as opposed to just one at a time. So it really forces you to think outside the box. And, it was even interesting because at the end of this book, he also shared a story about Elon Musk. And so love him, hate him, whatever your feelings are about him, you can't deny that he is really on a mission right now. He is on a mission to getting to Mars. And I didn't even think about it, but it was really cool hearing this whole concept. But like, it was the reason that he bought the platform Twitter and turned it into X. It was the reason that he got into politics. Now he has the Republican Party and Donald Trump backing him. That wouldn't have gave him the type of trust and access and resources if he didn't. If he was just like, hey, let's figure out how we get to Mars and let's keep on working on it. Like, you just got to start thinking in a bigger way, and you have to think with intentionality and urgency. Otherwise, that goal of 3 years of hitting that major goal, it's just not going to happen. And you have to take risk, and it's not for the faint of heart. It's for people that are bold and ready to move and take action and change the world and have a higher standard. Because again, if you take things below the standard, but below the floor, you're lying to yourself, saying like this is the goal. So as I've been sharing all of this stuff with you guys here watching this video, it's like, this is really opening up my eyes to be like, okay, what actually is our impossible goal? And, I think I'm still sitting with what exactly that is. And, lately I've been a little bit more of the like, trust the process, go, just move, keep building great stuff. But like what he's talking about in this book is that like, a lot of people that are saying that kind of stuff are lying to themselves, and then ultimately they're not going to really hit their goal of really scaling their company to where they want to be if they're just kind of like trusting the process. So I'm still sitting with this a little bit. That's why I want to read a second pass at this and really make a decision on what is our big impossible goal, because I have a big impossible goal of 8 billion sets of ears. We want everyone in the world to be listening to their future self when they're waking up. That's speaking life to them. That's being so encouraging, and it's reprogramming them to actually believe that is true. And I just think about a world where that's true, where so many people are waking up listening to that every single day, as opposed to scrolling on their phone, listening to their negative thoughts or whatever else is going on in their life that is not supporting them. And think about a world where that is true. So if that is true, how do we get closer and closer to that every year? If we build a $100 million company in the next 3 years, we're a lot closer to that than what we're doing right now. So it's definitely something that I have to get honest with myself, and hopefully that encourages you. Next thing I just want to share, last thing that's very, very helpful for me, in addition to have the $20 bill as the bookmark, I listen to the book and then I also read it at the same time. So I got a copy on my Audible. Actually was listening to that mostly. When I was working out of the gym, I like to take a quick pass at that. I usually listen to it at 2x speed. I finished that in a few days. And then I'm like, okay, it's time to really dive into this. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to read this at the same time I listen to it. I use Audible. You can also use Spotify. If you have a premium account, it's kind of cool because they give you access to most books on there. So that's how I read. And then the last thing that I always love doing and why I make these YouTube videos is that I teach it. So what I always recommend on these YouTube videos is share something down in the comments that you got most out of it, because it helps you learn it and internalize it even more when you teach it, when you speak it, when you type it out. And you wouldn't be able to know what to type out unless you truly know it. And you wouldn't be able to teach it in this fashion unless you know it. So put it down in the comments, share it with a friend, share this video with a friend, share what you learned from this with a friend, whether that's just call them, text them, email them, talk to them in person. It's so important if you really want to internalize this stuff. And obviously, go read the book if you want to get even further on it. Okay. Thank you for watching this video, guys. Again, always as mentioned, go check out the vision quiz. It's in the link down below if you want to increase your clarity by up to 108% along with your focus. That's what I got, guys. Subscribe to the channel, share it with some friends, and we'll talk to you on the next one.